All right, it's time to roar, Tiger fans. This is Big Al from The Morgan Thomas Show. Tonight, we're going to debut a new segment we're trying called Around the Bases with Big Al, and tonight is the pilot episode. So viewers of the show know that I love baseball, it seems to me that there's very little content out there about baseball, and of course, we're going to be specifically targeting Clemson baseball. And I'm hoping to remedy that a little bit, all right? Give you something to look forward to for those baseball nuts out there like me. Tonight, I have a very special guest with me. And I hope I'll have him for many episodes to come. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was once one of the most feared arms in all of Anderson County. All right, don't let him tell you any different. And fun fact, for those of you that don't know him, he was quite possibly the greatest flag football center to ever play the game. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you Corey Welsh. Corey, you with us?
I am. Good to see you,
how's
Alan.
everything going, man?
Good. It's going well.
Good to hear. So, if you want to tell everybody, if you want to talk flag football and your prowess at center, that's fine. We can do that. That'd be fun too. I feel quite sure. A lot of stories to share.
Yeah, we could definitely throw some go back in time there a little bit, huh?
No doubt. Hey, I would like to sometimes. I mean, I love playing some flag. We drop those kind of things, church ball and flag on the show,
right.
kind of stuff. Have a little fun with it. So, look. Tonight I've told everybody, this is the new segment we're going to do around the bases, and this is kind of like a spinoff from the Morgan Thomas Show. So if you don't know the Morgan Thomas Show, you need to check us out Tuesday nights starting at 8:00. Get in with us. You can chat. We try to answer your questions. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We're pretty much all over the place. We're on the Roar homepage as well, so you can kind of reach us anywhere. Get in. Tonight, we are doing this as a recorded session. We're hoping to make some of this live at some point in the future so you can interact a little better with us. So if it's well received, we're gonna kind of do that. We'll do a live show every now and then and see what we go, what kind of reaction we get. Tonight, what we're going to talk about, position players at Clemson. Clemson is starting baseball this coming week. They play Cincinnati in a series, which is going to be awesome. We only get one warm-up series though before we play the Chickens from South Carolina, so that's going to be interesting. We usually get a little more time to figure things out before we have to go play South Carolina, who I'm sure is going to be a good team this year. So that's going to be tough, but it's going to be fun. We're going to try to figure out who we think is going to be playing around the bases. We're going to talk about our starting pitching, a little bit of pitching depth, and we have a kind of a feature player we're going to talk about as well that Corey happens to have some inside info on. So, Corey, let's run right into this thing, and let's give a rundown. Start with catcher. We'll go first, second, third, short. Just kind of around the horn, just as the numbers go. All right. So, catcher. All right. Look, what I have penciled in, I have Adam Hackenberg / Jonathan French penciled in. Hackenberg was, the catcher last year. Last I heard, he had some of an arm injury, so it's going to prevent him from playing early in the season. Jonathan French, I guess it's his time to step up and be the guy that everybody hoped he would be in the recruiting process. You have anything different there at catcher?
Pretty much the same, with Hackenberg being down a little bit. But what a lot of fans don't realize is French is a good player. He had that injury right before the season last year where, fans didn't get really good chance to see him. And also there's a freshman, Cooper Ingle, who may get an opportunity as well out of North Carolina. Can really catch and throw. A little smaller physically, not your standard, big kid, but doesn't get cheated in the box and really good player. So there is some depth there at that position for those guys.
That's good to know because a lot of people are like, who do we have outside of Hackenberg and French? Okay, that's been an issue kind of for a couple of years now. So he's not. You're telling me he's not the Chris Oakey type player as far as size wise, but Oakey was a big kid from what I remember. But
yeah.
Okay, Cooper Inglis, it's a name I've heard. I think he can play several positions, as a lot of players for Clemson can. But you say we might see him a little bit at catcher. All right, that's good. What about first base? I would imagine Davis Sharp, when he's not the Friday night guy, will be on first base. I think you could see a couple other players there, potentially Dylan Brewer, maybe a Caden Grice newcomer. We'll talk about him a little bit later. You have anybody else, any other names we should look out for on first base?
I mean, really, to me, it would be those guys that you just mentioned. Brewer saw some time there last year, and kind of like what you just said as well. He can move to the outfield, can do a lot of very athletic clubs. So having that option, especially when your Friday night guy does play first base, it's good to have options there. So
yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. And Sharp, I mean, he had a good season last year. It was a shortened season, of course, as we all know. But I mean, he was 311 with 4 homers and 2 doubles. So he's a power guy. You need that power bat in the lineup. You know, we've had a lot of those power guys over the last several years, and every year it seems like somebody's asking, "Where's the home runs going to come from? Where's the power going to come from?" I think David Sharp can be one of those guys. So that's good to have him in there. Second base. Okay, second base. You know, I've seen something about Elijah Henderson maybe playing second base. I think he played a lot there last year, and he was great. He was 323. He was 7 doubles. You know, he has his little gap power himself. Sam Hall also has moved from shortstop for the most part, kind of transitioned over to second base. Any other names to know there?
You know, Max Starbuck is a name. You know, he saw some time last year, and you know, it's a real, you know, with Elijah, I call him Six. I've known him forever. Elijah. He played some outfield. Him transitioning to second base, and you know, you mentioned Sam, who got off to a little bit of a tough start last year, but you know, it's a seasoned player, which is kind of rare on this roster. So
right. Yeah, Sam, and you know, Sam has hit for power at times as well. He doesn't really have that build like you think he has power, but man, he can hit it and he goes a long way at times. So it's a good thing to get him going. We want to see that for sure. Third base, I have nobody but Briar Hawkins penciled in here. I'm sure you can see a couple other players sprinkled in here, but he was the guy all last year. He hit well. He was 286, 1 homer, 1 triple, 1 double. You know, so he's got some power, he's got some speed to him as well. Anybody else that we should know about there? I mean, other than these guys that are just going to kind of rotate around and play several positions, I think Sam Hall could probably play there as well. You know, there's other players that can do that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It may be like, you know, when he's not in the lineup, it could be a platoon situation, but I think you're pretty locked on there at third base. So
yeah, think we're in good shape. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Shortstop. All right, the position. My favorite position personally. That's where all the action is. James Parker. I mean, he was kind of the starter last year. I assume he'll take over that role again this year. He hit 294, just under 300, 1 homer, 2 doubles. Showed a little power in his bat. The other guy that they have talked about at shortstop is Pierce Gallow. And he had a rough go of it with the average last year, but again, just starting out, things happen. You know, you develop over time and whatnot, and hopefully he'll be able to do just that and provide some competition there. But I would imagine Parker's our guy, right?
That's right. Anderson guy, by the way, too. Parker's a TL Hanna guy, so always got to give those Anderson guys a shout out. But Parker. I mean, I think that'll be his spot to lose. I'm excited about him. I feel like he's really turned on the numbers. Like, I think he'll have more power this year. He's just a baseball rat. Another one that I've really enjoyed watching grow over the years too. So.
That I can get on board with. Now, I tell you, this is where it gets really interesting. Okay.
Oh yeah.
When we come to the outfield, you know, it's already interesting. We've talked about this a little bit already. Is there's so many options. Okay. And you know, a lot of people are talking about, hey, you know, this is Clemson's deepest team ever. And they're right. It is Clemson's deepest team ever. But I found it funny that you mentioned this right off the bat when we were talking earlier. It's everybody's deepest team ever for the most part. You know, everybody's bringing back a lot of guys because of this COVID situation. And this is just, it's going to be difficult to keep these players on the field. It's going to be difficult to, you know, make a lineup that works and find that chemistry. And that's going to be a really interesting dynamic going on. And we'll transition that into our left field position. Okay. I think this could go several different ways. Right now I'm looking at, Kierra Meredith, Bo Mikowski, Elijah Henderson. Those guys all can play a little bit of left field. I'm sure there's probably 5 other names that we could see trot out there. But do you have anything different? Who would you peg as the starter if you had to name somebody?
Ooh, that's tough.
Coach
I mean,
Welsh.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong with Kierra Meredith. Other than the fact I have to be a little biased, that's my son's favorite player. But I mean, he was a hot hitter last year. You know,
yes,
in the
was.
South Carolina series, he really carried the offense then, and he can do so many things on the base pass, just really dynamic. If I had to go with a lineup which carries no merit, I would definitely put Kierra there. So.
Yeah, I think what fans worry about with Kierra, he's going to have to improve his glove a little bit. I mean, he struggled at times in the outfield, and that's fine. But his hitting was incredible. And like you said, the damage he can do on the base pass is what Clemson fans look at. He hit 364 with a homer and 3 doubles last year. Just get this guy on base, and he can make something happen. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. He's been injured most of his career. It's kind of nice to have him healthy. It's unfortunate. Obviously, last year got cut short, so we didn't get to see a full healthy season with him. In center field, he played some center field as well. Kierra Meredith played center field as well, but I think the guy there you would assume is the starter is going to be Bryce Teodosio. He's been the starter there for a couple years now, and he's got a great glove. He's struggled at times with the bat. He's a little inconsistent with the bat. He's got some power, though. So hopefully he's been able to refine that swing a little bit in the offseason because his glove is undeniable. I mean, he's got great instincts out there in the outfield, great arm. Love to see this guy play. What are your thoughts on center?
Yeah, Tio all the way. You just nailed everything, especially the center field position. You got to be strong up the middle, and he patrols it as well as anybody in the ACC, I feel like. And you touched on the power. He's going to swing and miss, but that's okay. Hopefully he has refined his swing a little bit, but balls will be leaving the yard for sure.
Yeah, so no doubt. And then you come to right field. You're going to hear a couple of similar names we talked about a little bit before. Dylan Brewer is who I would have starting in right field. I think Bo Mikowski is going to get another shout out there. And the reason I start Brewer is I think he came on strong at the end of last season. He hit 245 with a homer and 5 doubles. Bo Mikowski struggled a little bit at the plate. He was hitting 152 with a double. So do you see any other names at right field? Those are the kind of two you're looking at. You got kind of a surprise player, or what you got in right?
I think Brewer is a guy who can really hit, but kind of with the lineups in baseball, everything can change. But Chad Ferry is another name as well. Mm-hmm. He's seen some action in the last 2 years and can really hit, knows the strike zone about as well as anybody. So that's another name to throw out there as well.
Chad Ferry, he's got a lot of power. A lot of people like to see him up at the plate, in crunch time when we need a homer. That kind of thing. So you mentioned this guy earlier, and I wanted to talk about him for just a second. So other than catcher, if there is a position you believe other than catcher, where does Cooper Ingle fit in? Because I've heard good things about this kid. I've heard, he can play some outfield. And I don't know where he fits in with all those names going around. He can play infield too, I believe. Tons of versatility in this lineup. Where do you think he might fit in other than catcher?
I mean, he may see some time in the outfield. And the thing, you and I talked about earlier, I mean, Coach Lee has a tough decision this year with basically it is the entire offense coming back. So, he's going to, roll that lineup out there day one and then kind of just play the hot hand. That's the good thing about having, this many players and the versatility is whoever's hot, they're going to continue to play. I'm sure that's something that he's preached to these guys.
Right, no doubt. So, all right. That is our look at the infield, outfield, catcher position. Now it's time to talk about some starting pitching, okay? And like I said, one of the most feared arms in all of Anderson County. Don't let him tell you any different.
No.
This is where his expertise comes from. It's been a while, but believe me.
Trust me. With what I've seen in the last 15 years, these kids are unbelievable. I was definitely an afterthought. Relative. That's right.
It's all relative.
Give me 10 more years and I'll be great. Give me 10 more years.
All I can tell you is when I was standing up at the plate and you were pitching, it seemed like it was coming at 95. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're going to get into a starting rotation, and I hate to spoil the surprise here because I did hear an interview with Monty Lee the other day on the Philly Clemson Club, and they were talking about this very thing, this very topic, and he brought up the names Davis Sharp, Matt Clark, and Keyshawn Askew, which is not overly surprising. These are guys with some of the most experience, and they're some of our better arms. They've all had some starting rotation work. Some of them have been more in relief. Askew's been a kind of a midweek guy, weekend guy. He's kind of transitioned a little bit back and forth depending on how he's going. So what are your thoughts on just the weekend lineup right now? Sharp being that Friday night guy, Clark moving from a bullpen role where I wish I would have him in a bullpen role personally. But how do you see him fitting into the starting lineup and Askew as well?
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with the Friday night guy, and I think you got to kind of like what we talked about with his ability to play the positions and things like that. That may be a reason why, and also with the experience. I feel like with the names you just mentioned, that's something Coach Lee's really focusing on is the experience, and that kind of rolls my personal thought into Matt Clark is. I mean, I think that's a great call. Okay. I've known Matt for a while. He's a winner, and he's thrown in the ACC tournament. I mean, the kid throws a lot of strikes. It's not the flashy numbers. He's not going to run it up there in the low 90s, upper 90s. He's going to really pitch and pound the zone in the mid 80s. And with his age and the experience that he has, that's maybe what tipped the scales. So,
Okay.
yeah. And then would ask you, personally, my favorite guy on the staff. I mean, obviously I haven't seen him much this year because of COVID and things like that. But I mean, his stuff is electric. Could be something, we talked earlier about the potential command issues he's had in the past. I mean, the thing about him is he's a great athlete.
Yeah.
He's fixed that up. If he's around the zone, like, he's unhittable in my opinion. So
yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I've seen both. I've seen games where the strike zone is tough for him to find. I've seen games where he's hit it, and like you said, it's unhittable if he's on. And that's one of the kind of the things I was looking at with this lineup is the experience and there's been a little bit of inconsistency there. We talked about this with Davis Sharp. Davis Sharp comes in and I don't want to say he's a super inconsistent guy. He's consistently gives up, it seems like, 3 to 4 runs, something like that per game. He's got had a ERA last year of 3.93. And that's not a ton of runs. And Clemson's offense is good enough to get those runs, and that's okay. He seems to be a really gritty player, a real competitor. He goes out there. He was kind of endeared to the Clemson fans in his start of his career. He comes on as this freshman phenom type guy who can hit, who can play in the field. He got us a big win over South Carolina, in one of his first couple starts, which was huge. And, hey, you get a win against South Carolina, the Clemson fans are going to love you for quite some time. That's a lot of credit that goes into the bank when you do that.
That's right.
But he's been a little up and down. So it was a little, I was curious to see if that was going to stick as the Friday night guy, or if he was going to have another role. We got so many arms, and we're about to get into the rest of the arms here in a second. But yeah, I'm looking for Davis Sharp to really find that command and use that grittiness and go to a much better record this year and just kind of propel Clemson as the Friday night guy into those Saturday and Sunday games. Because man, that first game, it sets the tone. It sets the tone, and that's what we need him to be. We need him to be that guy. I think we talked about this a little bit as well. Is I don't think they have had that typical blow you away Friday night starter since Gossett Crownover. And again, we mentioned I'm not counting Sam Weatherly because he was that guy. We just didn't get to see him for a few games last year. So it'd be nice to kind of get that identity back on Friday night for sure. So some of the other names. Okay, we got a ton of arms. We're going to go over a few of the bigger names, the harder throwers that I know about, a little bit about, and then some of the ones that I don't know much about. I'm going to let you chime in and kind of let me hear your thoughts and let the Clemson fans hear your thoughts on these guys. So we've got Carter Raffield, Jackson Lindley, another couple of guys that could be pushing for some starting time as well. Mac Anglin, Jeffrey Gilbert, all hard throwers. These are mid-90s type guys that can really bring it. And that's what people love. They love you to throw fast.
That's right.
Whether it works or not, they'd rather see a 95 than an 85 guy. Okay, that's just the way it is. And then some other guys I don't know that much about is Rasesh Pandya, Tyler Olenchuk, PJ Labriola, Rob Hughes. Kind of jump in on some of those guys if you know anything about them, or if you kind of care to give us any insight as to what their roles might be.
Yeah, I mean, like the first thing, they lost Carson Spires last year out of the closer role, so that's right. Everybody's probably thinking, what's going on there? That could be a hole. But Jeffrey Gilbert led the team in appearances last year. I think he had 8, and had got some big punch outs in the bridge innings in the 7th and 8th inning. Like, he could be that guy. Name that you mentioned, Rob Hughes, a transfer from Furman, who I saw in 2 outings against Clemson throw very well. He's a guy. He's been up to, I think, 96. So he's a transfer with a good slider. Rasesh Pandya, Wofford transfer as well. And they're just so deep. Nick Clayton's another one that you didn't mention right there off the top of but and that really helps that bullpen. And with Lindley, Raffield, and those guys, a couple of years ago, kind of the bugaboo with Clemson was, getting those midweek games, wrapping those up. Well, with the depth that they have now, they're going to be strong. I know last year it was the Furman game at home. I remember being there, and if I remember right, they, outside of Spires, the first 8 innings they rolled freshmen out there, and that was really exciting to see. And those guys are coming back, so a lot of depth. You lose Weatherly, Strider, and Spires, but just the overall depth that you have on this pitching staff. Again, with Coach C and Lee, like, they're going to probably roll with the hot hand of who's throwing well in that bullpen.
Sure. Look, I mean, as we were talking about, we left this guy out on purpose. I know all the fans are out there wondering, what about Caden Grice? That's all we hear about. He's the new incoming freshman. He's the shiny new toy, okay? He's the new phenom. So you personally know Caden Grice, worked with him a little bit. I kind of want the fans to know we didn't forget about him. We're about to talk about him, special segment just for him. Look, we had a Seth Beer who was a legend before he stepped on campus. Okay, this guy was a legend, and he lived up to that name while he was at Clemson, especially offensively. I mean, goodness gracious, the home runs those guys hit was incredible. It was absolutely something to watch. And Caden Grice is I'm hearing the same things about him, but he can do it on offense and on defense. His pitching and his hitting, from what I've been hearing. So, kind of tell us a little bit about your relationship with Caden and kind of what he brings to the table offensively and defensively.
Yeah, we'll kind of start with on the mound with where he's at. I remember actually I saw him as a freshman in the playoffs in high school. We'll go back that far against Westside actually. That's kind of that's what got him. With his opportunity at Clemson was even at that age he was a mid 80s, which is pretty good for a freshman, and just tremendous poise on the mound. And then he really ballooned up. From there. And then around, he had an injury, I believe, his junior year, and then really struck out on the summer circuit and just came out on fire. Physically, I mean, the kid's a specimen. And that's where the bat really came along. Like you talked about, the power that he has and things like that. I mean, he's really gifted when he makes contact. Not trying to knock on the kid. Like, it's just, you put the spotlight on these freshmen, and he hasn't even seen a pitch yet.
Right.
But he's going to hit some balls over the Cajun Cafe for sure. I mean, anything that he touches, it explodes. I've seen it. I mean, at the prep level, and I think I remember seeing in a scrimmage last week in a couple of them, I think he may have hit 4 or 5 home runs. So he's definitely getting the early pub. So, and I know Caden, I mean, the thing that Clemson fans need to be excited about is just his love for the game. I mean, anytime dugout he's not going to smile on the mound. He's going to be locked in, but I mean, very likable kid. I mean, he works tremendous work ethic. So
yeah, that is well, look, I mean, we've been over the starting lineup, in the field. We've been over the pitchers. We've been over the depth. We talked about Caden Grice, the new phenom that everybody's can't wait to see. So you heard it here first. Corey Welsh says Clemson is going back to Omaha this year.
I will say, I mean, the thing that a lot, on paper, the outside projectors, I guess, don't have Clemson as high as where, they could be, but I mean, if you go back and look at the schedule in the past, man, I mean, the thing that a lot of these guys come back and they've won a lot of close games. So I'm excited about what they can do and just with the versatility that they have. So
no doubt. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see him play against Cincinnati. I'm not sure what kind of team Cincinnati is, but, I can usually catch those games. I usually have to watch it on my phone or my computer or something like that. But I do try to tune in as much as possible. It's just I listen to it on the radio.
Keep the rain away.
Say what now?
Got to get them in. I said, I'm a baseball coach. You just got to keep the rain away so we can play, though.
That's right. The rain and COVID away, right?
That's right. Yeah.
We now have 2 obstacles we got to worry about. So I mean, look. So it's been a pleasure, man. I'm glad you could join me tonight. I'm glad we could talk about this stuff, and I hope we can make this a regular thing. We can have one person who knows what they're talking about and one person who pretends to know what they're talking about. All right, the audience can decide which one is which. But hey, before we get out of here, tell everybody about your podcast and what you do there.
Oh, well, with Diamond Prospects, it's a website, and we've actually just started podcasts last year during COVID. Yep. It's a website where we tailor towards South Carolina high school baseball. We run different events and that's where I'm fortunate enough to kind of interact with these guys. We've had some guests on there that are pretty cool. Coach Lee. Right now, we're getting into more, if it's something that you're interested in high school baseball, with the season finally cranking up, that's kind of what we're going to gear towards right now. So we cover the entire state. So.
Excellent. All right. Good to hear. So everybody check them out there as well. Make sure you're doing that. So look, everybody out there listening, awesome. Thanks. I appreciate y'all getting in with us. I hope y'all like this recording. I hope you like this content. It's something we can do more often. Love to get a live show on so you guys can interact with us and give us some comments. Like I said, we'll be everywhere. We'll be Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever, the Roar. I hope everybody enjoys this segment moving forward. Some could be live, some recorded. We'll just kind of see how it goes. We'll play it by ear. But hey, listen up, Clemson Tiger baseball fans. Join Big Al and Corey next time as we slide into home.